What's up? Welcome back to the Siris King Show. This is your host, Siris King. And should be a simple video, but I think it's needed. In today's times, a lot of people, I feel that it's kind of funny. Spirituality is kind of like for the mainstream. In some ways, it's kind of gained momentum. In other ways, it's kind of lost momentum. Like I feel I started teaching spirituality on YouTube, like I think 2008 or 2009, maybe 2009, and like people had more enthusiasm back then. Like people have enthusiasm now, but now it's like TikTok is into the game, and it's different now, right? But in terms of legitimate, real enthusiasm for spirituality, I don't really see it as much, and I think part of it is because there's a lot of different. Everybody got their own way, right? And I tell anybody, right? Um, the only way you know somebody's way is going to be true is if it works for you, obviously. And legitimately, you only going to know if it works for you about a proper year or two after doing it, right? But I will tell you this. There's a lot of different theories. There's a lot of different schools. You go from Indian philosophy, Tibetan philosophy, various African systems. Obviously, you got European systems, you got Hermeticism, you got Wicca, you got pagan philosophy, right? Then you have the left hand path stuff, Enochian magic, Necromonicon, chaos magic, right? Demonology, I guess, necromancy. You have all these different things. And a lot of times what ends up happening, everyone dibbles and dabbles on all of them. And, or not all of them, but a lot of multiples, right? And you end up just being more confused. And some people, I feel some people are more sincere, and some people are just like, yo, I just want to be directed in something that works for me, right? And I would say this, honestly, the system that, for me, is truly universal, it's not only Kabbalah, it's Kabbalah, by far. Now, sometimes the way Kabbalah is presented, it definitely is not presented in a universal way. But if you really want to understand Kabbalah, Kabbalah is simple. It's two things really. It's colors and it's numbers, right? Every separate of the tree of life is a number. Every Hebrew alphabet, every letter is a number, right? The words end up being a number. And then every letter in the alphabet is also a color. Every separate of the tree of life is a color. And that matches when you go to, regardless of the spiritual system, when you go into any god or goddess, what do they say? There's a color, right? Every god or goddess is a certain color or colors associated with them. A lot of times there's also numbers associated with them. If you deal with astrology, it's numbers. If you're doing alchemy, you may not think it's numbers, but it's numbers because you have to kind of work with the zodiac itself and you have to do certain things in 30 to 40 day intervals. And alchemy has 7 stages, right? 7 archangels, 7 musical notes. God created on 7 days. Numbers, colors, right? When God said, let it be light, boom, light. A certain colors a certain type of energy in electromagnetic spectrum, but color is the messenger. Color is really the Messiah in a sense. Color energy based from color gives you the ability to get energy, to move energy from one point to the next point, right? And that's extremely important because a lot of times when people, say for instance, when people praying, they don't use colors, right? They don't they don't understand the importance. I mean, look, when you're eating food, like when you get into certain type of healing systems, what do they say? The reason why fruits and vegetables are the superior diet, because fruits and vegetables have the most colors, right? If you're eating red meat and white meat, the meat you're eating is limited. The color spectrum is limited based on that, right? So the meat is in a certain frequency, right? The more colorful your plate, the more energy it most likely has, and the better it is for you. It's not really that deep. And it goes into, and everything that we do goes into that. When you, like I said, look up every god and goddess. There's always usually a color associated with them, right? And the numbers. That's all Kabbalah is. And because Kabbalah is that, you could go to the 10 separate tree of life, and you could go in there and put any system that you want, it will fit in that system, right? And that's why I said Kabbalah is not really packaged to me the right way, because, for instance, people who are left-hand pathers, in Kabbalah, we always say take the middle path, right? The right pillar and left pillar are still kind of incomplete worlds. So, Western religion would probably be more right-centered of the tree, and left-hand path stuff will be more left-centered, right? Both of them will be incomplete. So when you're doing Kabbalah, you could literally look at any spiritual system, look at different group of gods, and put them in that 10 separate tree of life. And it's really 32, where 10 sephers and 22 minors, right? Which will also match, 32 columns in your back for your Kundalini, right? Which is going to 33rd, but that leads into the 33rd degree, which what Freemasons, before Freemasons fell, understood. Right? A kind of legitimate spiritual activation. So you go to any system and put it in that, right? And so I feel that's why people end up being confused, because they don't really understand. They don't, you can mix different systems, but you have to have a master foundation. And unfortunately, with a lot of systems sort of, even when the systems are real, you have to kind of find a legitimate teacher that's connected in order. One thing with Kabbalah, it has so much written books, right? That when you kind of read those books, it kind of gets you ready mentally, and it satisfies a certain spiritual psychology, which is why they used to describe Kabbalah as yoga of the West. And I always tell people, yoga is supposed to be the first thing we all do, especially when you're fallen. When you're fallen, being disconnected, don't got no teacher, or your teacher's a fraud, whatever the case might be, right? You ain't born connected, no fucking legitimate lineage. Yoga, right? But in the West, the best yoga is Kabbalah. So, and people are gonna tell you all kinds of stuff about what Kabbalah is. Yeah, you could say, the Hebrews or the Jews took ancient Egyptian wisdom, made it science. If you believe in the Jewish part, you could say God gave it to Abraham himself. Either story fits. At the end of the day, right? Whether God gave it to Abraham himself, and you believe Abraham is real, whether you believe the Hebrews took it from the Egyptians, right? Modified it. The Kabbalah comes down to two things, which is all of creation: numbers and colors. That's it. How that matches your psychology, how it matches your psychology, your mind eventually affects your body, and if you get that right, your body will change. Hence, it matches yoga in the West, and it's a yoga for the West, right? And so it matches yoga in the East, but it's a system that's more universal in some ways, because it's basically centered on numbers and colors, and you really can't deviate from that. Not really, right? And once you understand that, no matter what system you do, it will fit into that system. And then what will happen is it will help you start look at that system different, and you start to see if that system is even worth, adding to your program or keeping on your program. So Kabbalah is the universal system. Why? Colors and numbers, baby. Siris King. Until next time.